Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 36. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. It's Book Insight Friday, and we're finishing up the Code Blue series, which is Code Blue, An Ode to the Badge and Gun, Part 5. And this is, like I just said, the ending of the series. Gary is heading into a life of not being a police officer anymore and trying to figure out what his next move is and what he's going to do since he loves his career in investigative work. So I knew that it was going to be me ending the book series on good terms. And I had to also bring out his sensitive side where he wrote letters to his ex-wife and his parents on his wrongdoings and him still being a work in progress. Also addressing his alcohol addiction and how he goes for help to alleviate all of that, how he becomes a spokesman for police officers. And I wrote the ending of this series on good cops, and good police officers coming forward with their stories. And with the media attention came the interviews and Gary telling his story, but also, getting a new opportunity that comes his way. But back to the whole point of, good police officers really exposing the truth. I wrote that in a way to, bring forth change and, revolution a little bit in how police departments are operated based off of, a lot of secret societies and organizations. But I don't delve deep into that in the series. But for those who really know, But anyway, gaining his sanity back, Gary, was the biggest part of the series. And for me, it felt good to really, write that part of it, And while Gary gains that back, he knows that the memories of what he built as far as his home for his wife and his son, he can't stay in that home anymore. So decision to sell his home was something that I added into that aspect and how he's going to move forward his life and not reflect on all of the negative. He turned a lot of negatives into positives, so that's the good part. So what's to happen next with Gary? He becomes a private investigator, which brings the Private Investigator series, which is being published this year. So part 1 and part 2 are currently, on Amazon. And part 3, 4, and 5 will come along as the year goes along. Part 3 is June 11th. Part 4 will be early September. And then part 5 will be in early December. So honestly, I didn't really have too many plans on continuing Gary's story. But because of the way I ended the book, I felt that the Private Investigator series would be imperative and important to continue Gary's story and him, talking about and exposing a lot of the things that go on in, police departments, not only in the United States, but across the world. So there are new cases and new things that Gary becomes a part of. So part 5 was just a feel-good way to end the book series after part 4 being so tumultuous and crazy, and the storyline kind of takes you for a loop a little bit in part 4. So part 5 is a lot more calmer. It's more of what he's going to be doing, and he talks about life, as a man and him being on the police force and a lot of different things. So I definitely enjoyed writing this series. It was a lot that it took to write that series. It wasn't my hardest one. I will say it wasn't as hard because a lot of the stories that I tell are going on in society or have gone on in the past, and unfortunately these are things that will continue until we start really having discussions and decide to really step forward, put our foot forward and say, okay, like all of this stuff that I've written about in this series has to end and has to stop. Corruption goes on in a lot of different facets of corporate America, but the brutality and killings go on among police departments. That doesn't happen in other corporate America job situations or whatever the case may be. So what I want to say is that Code Blue is a defining series for me, because of a lot of the situations that my friends have been through, and I know former police officers. But for this series, I chose not to, go down the road of like speaking to them, because I feel like I would not get the full story on their experiences as police officers. There would be withheld information, and it's going to take a lot of former police officers that are retired and out of the game, and people that are in the game of being a police officer currently, that they have to be the ones that really speak on the truths and atrocities that go on behind closed doors. A lot of it is starting to get exposed now, but there has to be way more stories that have to come out in order for us as people and as citizens to know what's really going on. And this is about humanity. And I'm thankful to have written a character like Gary, who has a humanity side to him, and has a guilty conscience, and doesn't sleep well, and turns to an addiction to keep the bad thoughts out of his head. And unfortunately, there's a lot of storylines that are written in a lot of police shows that deal with corruption and things of that nature. And the prime example of that is Chicago PD. And Jason Begay's character is Hank Voight, and he's a sergeant, and he kind of does things outside the realm of what police officers are really supposed to be doing. And he's a sergeant, so he's not necessarily a police officer, but he's a high-ranking cop on the police force. And he does some things that really aren't supposed to be done. And you have to question whether those things do really happen in police departments, and I do believe that they do. And I'm not trying to point the finger and say all police officers are terrible, because that's not the case. Because if that was the case, a lot of cases wouldn't get solved, and a lot of criminals wouldn't be in prison. So what I'm trying to say is that we have to really move forward with the facts, and what's really going on, and really start to address what the issues are in police departments. And it's not just the training, and it's not just a few vigilantes, but a lot of it is power, a lot of it is authority, a lot of it is secret societies, a lot of it is certain organizations that run and control these police departments. And it isn't always just about protecting and serving. There's a bigger picture to it, and a lot of us have to take the time to go down a rabbit hole. And I didn't write that in this Code Blue series because I wanted to write about a character who deals with these things, and and really starts to understand what humanity is about, and understanding what it takes to bring forth the truth of what's going on. So that is pretty much the Code Blue series. I am tackling another series coming up next week in Book Insight, and maybe I'll do something else. Who knows? But there are a lot of other books that I will be, talking about and discussing that I've written so far to date, and I look forward to writing look forward to recording these podcasts. And I thank you all for listening to all of the Book Insight Fridays. But really, really, really would be really happy if you guys take the time to, read this content rather than just listening to the podcast and then moving forward. I do have Code Blue 1, 2, and 3 in audio format, and part 4 and 5 is something that I will be working on in the near future. So in the meanwhile, since you are listening to this, there is audiobooks that you can listen to. And I'm not a person that wants to sit on a podcast and read the excerpts of it I feel like there's opportunities for you to read the excerpts on Amazon or, whatever platform you choose to, look at books at and buy books from. And there's also the opportunity for you to listen to me in audio format. You get at least the first chapter of what's to come of Code Blue 1, 2, and 3. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And that's pretty much it. So with that said, that's my podcast for today. I thank you guys for listening continually every time I post something new. I want you guys to have a very good and productive weekend. Be good, everyone, and go accomplish your goals.